All right, everybody. How's everybody going? It's been a while, hasn't it?
It has been a while, absolutely. Welcome to Ultra Chen TV for the first episode in a few weeks, because we took the week off before Evo, and then the week off after Evo, and now we're finally back. So my name is Ultra David, and with me, as always, Mr. James Chen.
James Chen, and this is First Attack, and once again, like the week before Evo, we had an episode where we kind of invaded each other's shows just to talk about stuff before Evo and such. And so today we're kind of doing the same thing, except we're going to just talk about, you know, our reactions to everything post-Evo and just kind of talk about how we felt it went and, you know, just our opinions on where the games and the communities are going and such. So, yeah, this will just pretty much be our chance to kind of go over the things that we thought. So,
yeah. Kind of like a debrief in First Attack here.
Yep.
Level 3 Focus, as always, will be on after this. And that's also going to be a joint episode, but going to be featuring more kind of match video and very light analysis just to kind of introduce some of the more interesting matches at Evo. But right now, we still have First Attack going on.
Yep, and so, I mean, obviously, right after Evo completed, a lot of people asked me how I felt about Evo this year, right? And just, you know, what in general my feelings are. And I think there's no better way to sum up how I feel than this.
Yeah! Ooh! Woo!
Yeah.
That's pretty accurate. I saw that when it was happening live. That was just after, that was like during Infrit versus Filipino
when he
champ.
knocked him into loser's bracket.
When he reset the bracket, right? Yeah, you and I were sitting in different spots during that time. I was over in the meat of the pit down in the crowd.
Right.
And we were all going nuts too. And I had just happened to look over to you, over by the commentary desk. And yeah, all I see is James Chen just, ooh! It went on a lot longer than that.
It really did.
It did. It went on for a little while.
The craziest thing is, apparently everybody saw me. I'm sitting there in the corner. I didn't think anyone was seeing me because I'm nowhere. Like, I'm kind of hidden from view.
Well, you weren't hidden. There was a lot of movement going on.
Apparently
There was no other movement in that whole section of Evo, so you kind of caught our attention. You know?
And the worst thing is, after I finished jumping up and down, I looked to the stage, and there's Richard with his camera, and he's not even looking at the crowd or the players. He's pointed right at me, and I was like, oh no.
Yep.
I'm going into a Richard video.
That's right.
And sure enough, there it was. But I mean, shout outs to Infrit for probably giving me one of the most hype moments that I can possibly remember.
You went pretty crazy.
I was awesome. Going nuts. And, you know, that just shows, you know, when we're not doing the commentary, this is the kind of stuff that you lost your voice pretty much the whole rest of the night while you were going crazy as well.
So I only commentated Street Fighter Cross Tekken for the top 8 for Sunday, for Finals Day. And that meant that I had KOF and Street Fighter 4 and Marvel to just like go completely nuts, and I did. Yeah, I lost my voice. I was jumping up, you know, looking for side bets, like constantly running around, like trying to get like action from this side and also from this side. And
you made bank on Street Fighter.
I did pretty well in Street Fighter. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I did well in Marvel too, but I bet on Filipino champ to win when we knew what the top 8 was, which ended up working out. But when we found out that it was going to be Infrit versus Filipino champ, I bet on Infrit. So
you had to, you know,
right? SoCal, come on. Yeah. I had to do it. But yeah, then once Street Fighter 4 came on, I was like calling everything. Like I knew I was looking into the future. Like I knew it. I nailed it.
So funny. Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, we both totally went nuts, and that's what happens at Evo.
And it was painful too because I was trying to save my voice.
That's right, because you had to do Street Fighter after.
And that just didn't work. And when you heard me on Street Fighter, I was done. In fact, my voice is still kind of done right now, a little bit. But
did you get any of that Evola?
No, actually, I'm okay. Knock on wood. This is not wood.
I think you're good now. It was a good week ago, so I think you're good.
I'm okay right now, but I know a lot of people caught. For those people who don't know, and we probably should have mentioned this on the pre-Evo show too. You know, drink lots of vitamin C when you go to Evos. I mean, it's the same thing as when you go to conventions and such. You know, wash your hands a lot, drink a lot of vitamins. Did you get sick?
I did get sick. I'm actually still a little bit sick, so if you hear me coughing or sniffling, that's what's going on.
Great. Okay, I'll see you guys later.
No, I don't think it's even anything serious. It's just the fact that like I got 3 to 4 hours of sleep per night for like 4 or 5 nights, and I shook. Like I was trying to think about like what a realistic estimate of how many times I shook hands over that several days period. it's probably like 700 or 800 times. Seriously. Like, think about it. You probably did something similar, right? Because for us, like, as we're walking around, like, we took, like, maybe 20 steps before somebody was like, hey, how's it going?
Yeah.
And, like, that's awesome. Like, I'm totally down to talk with people, but the result is I shook, like, every grimy hand possible.
Yeah, pretty much.
And I actually had... I had hand sanitizer that I brought this time.
Right.
And I was out of that stuff in 2 days. I'm serious.
Yeah, I mean, there are even times, I ran into Sola, a.k.a. Burn Your Bra, on Sunday, and she was sick. They actually had to leave early. Her and her boyfriend left early on Sunday because she was sick that day. And, she's like, I don't want to get you sick. And I was like, whatever, have a good trip. And I gave her a hug and everything. And so,
wait, you did get sick. You were totally sick the day after, or on Tuesday.
Well, that was from food. I ate too much and my stomach got messed up. So that's a different kind of sick. That's a different kind of sick. So
Evo actually didn't smell that bad. There were times when it was, there were people walking around who were of note, but for the most part, it was pretty good.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. I mean, we were also in the corner all the time, kind of hiding from
That's
people, so it wasn't as bad. I'm sure a lot of people will have counter stories.
No, I mean, because I was in the pit during top 8.
Oh, that's right.
It was cool. Nobody was particularly gross.
Nice, nice. Oh, cool. Well, I mean...
Anyway, so yeah, Evo. How'd you like it? I guess you liked it.
Yeah, here, I'll go back.
Okay.
I gotta go back one
James,
more time.
How did you like Evo? If you had to sum it up in...
1,000 words?
Yeah, in actions consisting of waving your hands around, lasting approximately 2 to 3 seconds.
Yeah, it would be like this, pretty much. Here we go. Oh, wow, I can see the edge of you right there. This is not perfect.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, there you go. So
there you go. Okay, I see.
So, I mean, for those people who have been following Evo for a very long time, they know that one of the things that I like to do, that I used to do back before I was lazy, I used to write a blog post on my now defunct blog where I would summarize Evo and kind of talk about how I thought it went. But for the most part, the thing I focused on was community. And I wanted to talk about how all the different games that were at Evo, how they can go about working on continuing the growth of their community or how they can maintain the community and such. So instead of doing a blog, I figured that's kind of what I wanted to focus on today for First Attack. Just kind of talk about all the different games, including not even just the 6 games, but obviously we had Super Turbo and Virtua Fighter and a bunch of other stuff going on there. So yeah, I really wanted to kind of go over those situations. And, in the blog posts that I used to write, they were very realistic too. I mean, I wasn't, pulling any punches in those kind of situations. And the reason why I bring this up is because, obviously every year at Evo, there's really only room for 6 games. Long time ago, we used to do 8. I think we got to 9 one year, and it almost killed everybody on the Evo staff. And so we kind of pared it down to 6, even 5 occasionally.
Well, I remember before this year, people expected 5.
Right.
Before they announced that there were going to be 6. We were surprised.
Yeah, and so, I mean, unfortunately, not every game can stay. Yeah. So some games have to go, especially because there's still new games coming out, constantly. So, the reason why I kind of brought up the fact that, I need to be brutally honest about these things is, the first game I kind of want to bring up is Soulcalibur.
Okay.
And, unfortunately for Soulcalibur, I honestly do believe that it's going to be very hard for it to make it back next year. And not because it didn't do well, not because the tournament wasn't good. In fact, I was listening to The Fray earlier on today, which is hosted by Maximilian, Hans and Nidell, same guy. Andri, Spooky was on there, Eris is on there. Eris. A bunch of guys are on there, and where they talked about it. And, Eris was saying that he thought Soulcalibur was great, good variety, good hype matches, and obviously... of all the games that are at Evo outside of Street Fighter IV, I think it's probably the second most international game because the best players are like from France and such. And, it was won by, was it Japanese player or a Singapore player?
Yeah, no, I think Japanese guy.
Okay. And it's a very international game. People play it all over the place. I think the hardest thing for the game right now, honestly, is the fact that Tekken Tag 2 is coming out.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely no indictment of the actual tournament itself, which got something like 400 and some people, almost 500 if I recall correctly, which is a great showing. And the character variety was really interesting, and it was won by Tierra, who I think nobody expected.
Yeah. Everyone said it's just like a really bad character.
Yeah. So
all of a sudden,
which is hype. And yeah, so it's nothing to do with the tournament itself or with the game, but it's been really difficult in the past for Evo to sustain more than one 3D style game for the most part. And Tekken Tag Tournament 2 is going to be out before Evo next year.
Yeah.
And so I just think that it'll be rough to if we only have 6 games or maybe even 5, then I really can't see how both of those games end up.
Right.
And I would think that the newer game would be the one that would show.
Right. And so, the question usually comes down to then is what can the Soulcalibur community do to actually try to push as much as possible for this game to continue.
Right.
Obviously, there are lots of players out there, Kiev, Kayane from France, who are really into the game. A lot of players here, including Eris, are really into the game.
Yeah.
Honestly, maybe this is kind of a segue into one of the non-main games, but I've talked about it a lot, how the Tournament of Legends this year, the Super Turbo group, perfect blueprint on how you get your game noticed and how you get your game appreciated and try to revive and keep a scene strong. And this is for a 20-year-old game, let alone a game that just came out 5 months ago, right? So for Soulcalibur, in my opinion, it's really funny because the secret to making your game successful and to have your scene grow is it's not even a secret. It's the most obvious thing that you could possibly do, which is support your scene.
Yeah.
Go to the events and make sure it grows and build hype and educate people on your game. And the reason why I bring this up is even here in Southern California, there have been Soulcalibur V gatherings at Super Arcade.
Yeah.
And slowly it just turned into like 12 people to 8 people to 4 people.
It definitely started dropping off, and it actually didn't even take all that long for the game to be out. It was only a few months in to the game's life where that had already started to happen. Right.
And so, the Soulcalibur community definitely has an uphill battle to fight right now. And of course, games are not decided for Evo until like January, maybe December or so.
Really? Okay.
We have half a year to do a lot of stuff. So I should probably start with that prerequisite before we even continue with any of the games. We have half a year right now. This half a year is pretty much the telling part of the year. So let's bring up a game that wasn't even top 6 or shown anywhere on the big screen or anything. Skullgirls, for example.
Okay.
Skullgirls is a game that you and I have both been very hyped for a very long time. Yeah. And the amount of creativity in this game, and we just want to see this game explode. We want to see this game grow because there's so much potential in this game. And a lot of people in the first half of the year said, I'm not going to play it because it's not at Evo, so I'm going to put it off now.
Right, that was very common.
No more excuses.
Right. I mean, I know that I've already started playing it again.
Oh, cool. Awesome. Yeah, and everybody else should as well. And now everyone needs to pick up the game, buy the game, start playing the game. When you have the tournaments, go play it. There's going to be Summer Jam coming up. There's going to be Seasons Beatings in October. And I'm sure there's going to be plenty of tournaments peppered in between.
Yeah, because lots of weeklies and monthlies and stuff.
It's just not going to stop.
No, it's not like it used to be that after Evo we all took a break.
For like 6 months.
For like a while. Yeah, there was just a few tournaments other than that in between like basically July or August and the next year. But it's not like that anymore. So there's going to be lots of opportunities to play whatever game it is. You brought up the ST Tournament of Legends as an example for how people can keep their game in the limelight.
Right.
I think that is a little unfair to games like Soulcalibur.
Yeah.
Super Turbo has a lot of fans and big-time proponents who are very much in positions of control in Evo in particular.
Fair enough.
In particular, Evo, right? It's not just you and me, like, we're the commentators, right? But it's the people who actually run the event who really love the game. And it's like that with a lot of people who run tournaments. A lot of people who run tournaments happen to love ST.
It's a good game.
It is a good game, but I mean, they're a little older. They have more experience with the game, et cetera, et cetera. That's
right.
For whatever reason. So it's harder for other games to do what ST was able to do.
Right. And fair enough, it's been around longer enough so that we have players like Mao and Kusumundo and, Nuki, if he could have made it, Daigo. We have a lot of names playing this game. It's not even just the Evo staff, but saying we're getting Alex Vai, John Choi, and Jason Cole to play this game means a lot more, because these three guys, they don't play Soulcalibur, for example. They don't play Skullgirls right now.
I mean, Soulcalibur definitely has its top-level players like that. The problem is that they're just not as widely known as people like the three that you just mentioned, and like a lot of other people who entered that tournament. There were some big names in that tournament.
Oh yeah, for sure. There was a reason why it was called Tournament of Legends, right?
Exactly.
There's 31 legends in there.
Oh, whatever, man. You actually did pretty well, did you not?
I went 2-2. All
right,
okay.
fine. That's better than most.
Okay.
So I think that comparison is a little difficult to use for a game like Soulcalibur. I don't really know what Soulcalibur is going to do to keep it in Evo next year. I can't really see that happening.
Yeah.
I think that Tekken is going to be the game. Tekken as a scene has been kind of bemoaning their position for a while as a game community, because they haven't had anything new in quite a while, and the entrants have been definitely dropping off. But now their new shiny Tekken Tag 2 tournament, or Tekken Tag Tournament 2, is coming out.
Right, which is a big deal too, because they're putting a lot into it,
Yeah.
and I heard the console version. A lot of Tekken players have played it. We were talking to Rip, and he's just saying how much fun this version of Tekken is now. Because like they fixed a lot of things. Obviously, being a lot more characters in there, and so and
it's not like. It's not even like these two communities overlap 100%. There are people who play both Tekken and Soulcalibur, but the games are pretty different, actually.
Right.
And so the groups of people who play the two, little bit of overlapping, but there's a lot not overlapping. So I gotta feel like they're in more direct competition for a spot in Evo next year than most of the other big games are.
Right. Actually, now that you mention it, maybe ST isn't the perfect example of a kind of like a script to follow for it. I actually think another game might be pretty good to talk about, but let's do that after we take a break.
Okay.
So we'll be right back.
Very nice.
All right, welcome back, everybody, to First Attack. I'm James Chen. And
my name is Ultra David. We're talking about Evo and the game communities that were there, and talking in particular about how we thought that their tournaments went this year, but also the prospects for next year, for showing up next year at Evo 2013.
Yeah, and speaking of Soulcalibur, we're on Soulcalibur talking about how it can try its best to come back next year.
Yeah.
The game that I just thought of that might be a great example to follow is Mortal Kombat 9. Because last year it was at Evo. And after it was done at Evo, most people were pretty skeptical about it. Like, there's no way this game is coming back. There's no way this game is coming back.
A lot of people said that.
And it came back. And it was really cool at Evo again. The scene did a really good job. It was obviously the game with the least amount of entrants this year. But,
I still had about 300 people. But the tournament itself went really, really well and interestingly. Yeah. It actually had the highest character-to-player ratio of any game in the top 8.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah. There were like 13 characters for the 8 players or something like that.
Oh, because they were switching.
Because they were switching, yeah. But the point is that the game has interesting exploration left and, has pretty good balance and really interesting play if you're into it. I loved watching it.
Right. And the best thing about it is it has its own stories. It has its own drama. It has its own players.
Right.
And that's one of the important things about MK9. The whole video where, what's his name, called out Perfect Legend and the Cantaloupe.
Oh, yeah, James NK.
James NK called him out and stuff. And then the whole story with all the MLG tournaments, with, Carl getting blown up at those tournaments and then coming back and winning Evo again,
That's right, yep.
And even just at this Caribbean tournament this past weekend, more drama came out, with Perfect Legend and stuff. So, this community continues to thrive. It continues to keep itself going and to continues to make itself interesting. One of the things that the Soulcalibur community might want to do is, start promoting some of the bigger players in there, start playing off more of the drama. I mean, look what happened at NCR. Look what we did at NCR, you know. Where,
that was awesome.
You know, where we got, was it Dan the Nightmare? Or
No, the French player?
No, not Dan the Nightmare. What was his name?
Oh man, I know what you're talking about. I can't remember. But the point is that we got two players. And we basically just like picked a side to go crazy for,
and we got them to win. We got them basically to win.
Awesome.
Yeah, and so you know they should have played that up a little bit more. Try to create some more rivalries. You know, create a little bit more drama. It's the way to work. I mean, yeah, it's all fabricated. A lot of people like to talk about it's just about the game. It's just about the game.
Yeah,
but you know. It's always about the story. There's a reason why for the pre-Evo show, we always talk about the stories. You know, coming into Street Fighter, it's international. Coming into Marvel, there's these infinites, you know, and these stories are what kind of help expand the game and create a little bit more human interest story to it.
I definitely think that's a factor in selecting games for Evo. I mean, I assume, is how interested people will be in seeing what's going on in those tournaments.
And, you know, a lot of people are saying stuff like, fake drama or whatever like this. It's not fake drama.
Yeah, I don't want fake drama.
This is real drama. This is real stories that are happening.
There are definitely stories in Soulcalibur that are just not, like, that well publicly known is the thing. Mm-hmm. The thing that the MK community has had is that there are stories and storylines and, like, hype and ridiculousness.
Right.
But they're out there. People know about them. And so it's cool to watch that stuff happen. That said, I basically can't see Soulcalibur coming back.
Right.
I mean, I hope that it will remain at other majors that can afford in terms of time to have more games.
Right.
I gotta think that Tekken will preempt. And somebody on stream said that it seems like Namco pushes Tekken a lot harder than Soulcalibur. I totally agree with that. I don't really understand why that's the case, but it's always seemed like that to me too. And certainly with Tekken, they've been pumping it hardcore, man.
Snoop Dogg.
Yeah, this thing, like at E3, like they were the only fighting game that I saw with like major backing was Tekken. And it was on buses riding around. There were huge, banners everywhere. They were really trying to make this game happen again.
Yeah.
And I expected that it will. I expect that it will happen again, and that it'll be at Evo.
Yeah. But, I mean, also, just to kind of finish up my thought on the whole, drama kind of stuff, a lot of people are talking about fake drama or whatever like that. I mean, there's a reason why, when you watch the Olympics, they'll always do background stories on a lot of the major players because, look at Filipino Champ when he won Marvel, right? Filipino Champ winning Marvel wouldn't mean as much if we didn't know Filipino Champ, all the work that he's put into it, and that he's kind of a bad guy.
Right.
The whole thing with him, like when you see him, like when he beat Christie, how happy he was, or when he would win rounds, how he circled the stage, like, I gotta do this, I gotta do this, I gotta do this. Yeah. If nobody knew who Filipino Champ was, we would just be like, what the hell is wrong with this guy? But the fact that we've seen him grinding on FGTV every single day and just going crazy, that's what makes that so hype. It's kind of what builds the hype.
So I guess we'll see whether Soulcalibur does that and whether it matters.
Yeah, 6 months, man. 6 months.
Basically, yeah. But you brought up Mortal Kombat.
Right. And it's facing a very similar problem to Soulcalibur, I feel like.
Oh, okay. Well, I actually don't feel like it's facing a very similar problem.
Okay.
No, I don't. I feel like its problem is kind of different. Well, I guess it depends on when Injustice ends up coming out.
Right, that's the main question.
Yeah, like, will Injustice come out well enough in advance of Evo for it to be, like, included? So there's partly that, but the reason that I don't think that it's that similar is that Injustice figures to be a pretty different game. Like, if you've been following the way that the mechanics are going to work and the characters are going to work and all that stuff, it actually feels like it's going to be a really different game. It just happens to be by the same studio.
Yeah, I mean, but the same could be said about Tekken and Soulcalibur, right?
Totally the case. The only reason that I think that those games are fighting each other is not necessarily that they're the same game. They're totally not the same game. It's just that Evo has had a tough time supporting two big 3D games. It's happened, but, like, not very commonly. So that's the only reason that I feel that. I think that the bigger problem for MK is that it just doesn't seem to be attracting new players anymore. It had the fewest entrants, a little less than 300 if I recall correctly.
Right.
And time was, that would have been awesome. But it's, the second closest game was like almost 500 for Soulcalibur, and then past that was like almost 1,000 people, like 900 people.
Right.
So the difference between the bottom and the top in terms of entrance is gigantic, and if MK can't attract new players, and if we have new games being released, I mean, I just can't really see it sticking around.
Right. I mean, one of the games that has a great chance of sticking around, in my opinion, is King of Fighters XIII.
Totally agree.
And why is because after it was done, the comments from around the FGC were pretty unanimous in saying, that was amazing. Mm-hmm. I need to learn this game.
Yeah.
This game looks amazing. This game looks fun. And, a lot of that was the story. A lot of that was the drama again. Bala being favored to play, and then being upset by the Korean team, who basically threw 4 Koreans at him, and, finally one of them pulled it off. Mm-hmm. But, that kind of story and that kind of hype, and then we had all the players from Mexico come and visit, and they chanting and singing, and all this stuff, it built this really great atmosphere for this game. It made it electric, and many people are calling that maybe the best grand finals of Evo history. Like, a lot of people are saying it's like one of the greatest top 8s.
It was a fun top 8. It was really obviously very exciting. I really liked the MK top 8. Like I was saying, I thought it was really interesting. I thought some of the character selections were really interesting and like almost kind of off the wall in some cases. It was really cool to see, and it had this great story in Perfect Legend. Almost not playing at all in big tournaments for like a year. Only at a few, and then coming in and just like steamrolling dudes, and
you win it when it counts, right? That's the whole goal.
CD Junior was trying to get a counterpick going, and it just like couldn't work out for him. And Perfect Legend with really interesting movement and mix-ups and just awesome space control constantly it was really cool to see. I thought it was really hype. But I don't really know what the difference is between the way that was received and the way that King of Fighters was received. King of Fighters had a ton of players, about 1,000, but a lot of those were for the shirt, to be perfectly honest.
Right.
If you entered KOF, you were given a shirt. Mm-hmm. Pretty cool shirt, so a lot of people did it because it was $10 basically for a shirt.
Right.
So I don't really know how many people were there to play KOF for reals. Was it much more than Soulcalibur? I don't know. I mean, maybe not. Maybe it was about the same. Maybe it was a little bit more. I really have no idea. But I don't think that the number of players, the 1,000, is why we thought the KOF was more exciting in the end. Not at all. There's something about the way the game was played. It's fast-paced. The character variety is really interesting. The graphics are cool looking. Like I don't know. It's something like that. And I don't know like what MK can do if people don't have this perception of their game as being fun and interesting and strategic and all that stuff.
Right.
I think it is. But people just don't have that perception.
It's kind of interesting because one of my biggest complaints about MK has always been that the animation is kind of stiff.
Yeah.
But, I've always kind of given MK a pass because the whole game is supposed to be very realistic looking and stuff. Yeah. That's actually why I'm really worried about Injustice.
It looks weird. I think some of the gameplay ideas are really interesting, but in terms of looks, it looks weird.
Dude, when they demonstrated Flash and he did his super, he ran all the way around the world in this really cool cinematic, burning through the ocean. Yeah. You see the waves part, comes all the way around and goes, uppercuts the guy, and then he starts walking. Like the jankiest walk in the world.
It was this. This is the walk.
Pretty much. Yeah.
It's weird looking. So I don't know. I mean, is that going to be like a big impediment for people to not play the game? I don't know.
I don't know.
But, I mean, maybe the graphics are part of the thing, part of the issue with people picking up MK. I really don't know. I wish more people would, but it doesn't seem like they are.
Yeah, I don't think the graphics are going to stop MK necessarily, but I do think it kind of hurts a little bit of the flashiness of the game. Because the game's not a flashy game. It's just bloody. Right?
That's true, I guess, yeah.
It's not a flashy game. And in a game like Injustice, you've got superheroes. You've got people who can shoot laser beams out of their eye. You got the Flash who can move super fast.
Right.
I mean...
air dashes and flies and stuff.
One of my favorite things about Marvel is when you see Spider-Man, he looks like this is how Spider-Man would fight. when Hulk fights, it looks like this is how Hulk would fight, you know? And that's the only exception is Magneto. I always said I want to see an X-Men movie where Magneto comes out and is like, take this, and then launches some in the air and just goes up and down, hypergrab, up and down, hyper. It would have been the most amazing movie ever. But, you know, obviously, at least it looks flashy and dynamic and such, you know, and that does help. And King of Fighters has that factor in it, the HD combos. It's like when you watch the end of a match, and you know about HD combos. Yeah. You're just waiting for someone to touch the other guy, and as soon as they touch him, and you see that HD activate, it's a hype builder. As soon as it activates, you're like, here we go, don't drop, you know. And there's a story, there's a flow in the game, and it's very strong, you know. And King of Fighters has this wonderful flow. In fact, they were talking about it on the Fray, how when you start the game, every hit is like, but then as the game gets longer, every hit becomes more damage and more damage until the very end, where any hit will be death. Yeah, I mean, pretty, or not uncommonly, I should say, if you have two anchors and they both have meter, and they have 90% life each, next hit might win. Yep. Really. So, exactly. Yeah, I mean, it's a really interesting game to watch. But yeah, I don't know. Do you think that Mortal Kombat will be there next year? Again, it's going to be next 6 months. Next 6 months is going to tell the story. If it can sustain itself, if it can grow. Yeah. That is important. You talked about getting new players, and that's probably something very underestimated. It's kind of, it's what killed, you know, Guilty Gear the first time, BlazBlue the first time, and all this stuff like that. It's just, their scene was there. People were playing it, but they weren't growing the scene. Like, it's weird to me to realize that I feel like Street Fighter IV is still growing. I think it is. I feel like more people are playing it. Marvel, definitely still growing. Influx of Japanese players and all this stuff. International, growing, right? King of Fighters is obviously hugely going to the moon right now, right? In terms of players. And, you know, a lot of people were afraid, you know, after Evo, was King of Fighters going to die? And, you know, that top 8 basically said, no, we're here to stay. I figured that wouldn't happen. So I really hope that if the reason... I really hope that if MK is not there next year, that the reason is not that Injustice came out, because they look like really different games. I really hope that doesn't happen. It would be like if, well, I guess it would be like if Tekken was there instead of Soulcalibur. But again, that's the whole 3D thing. Like maybe it's more like if Street Fighter 4 weren't there, if Street Fighter Cross Tekken were to come out, you know, like maybe it's more like that. I don't know. Well, even that's those two games look much more similar than. They're probably the two most similar games in recent memory. They probably are. Yeah. But anyway, I just hope that Injustice isn't what keeps MK out of it next time. Right. I don't know. I'm rooting for the game. I like it. I do want to respond to one comment. There has been a lot of rumors about Guilty Gear, and everyone always jokes that Marn killed Guilty Gear. Marn didn't really kill Guilty Gear, but I think that's just a fun meme, funny troll that's just kind of gone around. There was a lot more factors to it than that. Marn was part of it in ways, but not. He wasn't solely responsible for it. So. All right. So let's take a quick break, all right? All right. And we'll be back talking about video game, fighting game communities at Evo after this. All right, everybody, welcome back to First Attack. We are doing a special post-Evo where we're talking about all the different communities and talking about, you know, what they can do to sustain any momentum they have, gain any new momentum. Right. And so we talked about 3 games so far, a little bit about KOF, you know, just to summarize KOF. I don't think it's going anywhere. I think it's going to be around for a while, and I hope people continue to play it. You know, it's a great game. Super fun game. Now that Evo's over, hopefully I'll finally be able to get a chance to play it. You know, we'll have to play it. Yeah, for sure. And so, you know, the next game that's just begging to be talked about right now is Street Fighter Cross Tekken. Yeah. You know, and what do we make of this game? What are we gonna do about this game? I mean. Yeah. So, I was really looking forward to top 4 of Street Fighter Cross Tekken. I woke up early on Sunday to get myself so I could watch top 4. I needed sleep, mind you, too. For sure. But I was like, you know what? I'm going to wake up because I want to see this new technology that because the game,
it has problems, and everybody understands that. But it can be played in pretty interesting ways at high levels. If you understand the game and you know how to make use of certain things in the game and even certain glitches, it can be really interesting.
Right.
But it was just terrible. It was by far the worst of all of the top 4 or 8s at Evo.
But you know what, though? I wouldn't even necessarily blame the game on that.
No.
Unfortunately, a lot of people are going to.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah, I think the problem is nobody was at Infiltration's level and Laugh's level at all.
I mean, you could see, like, when Ricky and Puerto Rican Balra were playing, they were just playing Street Fighter. They were playing Street Fighter and not Cross Tekken, which made it look retarded. It was, like, really stupid looking.
Right.
I mean, they were kind of, like, dancing around a little bit, trying to play their, like, footsie games, and, like, that was it. They didn't have, I don't think they ever used an alpha counter even, like, basic stuff they, like, just weren't even using. They got there because they're godlike players.
They knocked Infiltration and Laugh into
Yeah.
losers, which is interesting because in Grand Finals it wasn't even a contest.
The whole rest of that top 4 was there because they're awesome players, right? Like,
Mike Ross and
Combo Fiend are awesome players.
Fudo and Tokido.
Awesome players.
Right.
But not necessarily awesome Street Fighter Cross Tekken players. So we didn't get to see any cool stuff out of the whole top 4. And I really think that was like the nail in the game's coffin. I do. I think I think it's dead. It was basically dead beforehand.
Right.
It's done.
Well, the worst thing about it, too, is that Infiltration even said, he's like, you guys think this game is done? We're going to show you the new tech. Get ready for the new tech on Finals Day. And they never had a chance to bring it out because they didn't need it.
Didn't need it. They double perfected Combo Fiend to start things off in the top 4, and that's basically how it went. They did.
They did, and Mike Ross didn't get to do anything.
It was the worst thing.
And you know what? We've talked about this, too, is that a lot of players these days, they like to showboat. They're so used to playing a ranked match online where you blow everything that you have in the first game to win. Infiltration and Laugh did the right thing. They didn't bring out any other new tech because I've always said you have to win with the least amount of tech possible. That should be your number one goal when you play at a tournament, is always win with the least effort and least technology, least shenanigans. If you can kill them by doing the same trick over and over again, do it. Because then once they start catching on, you have something to adapt to and something new to throw off their game. And that's basically what Infiltration and Laugh were doing. He was playing his standard Rolento Pogo bouncy game.
Well, I actually thought that his Rolento was pretty interesting, and it didn't look like a lot of other Rolentos that I had seen, because it wasn't just walking around with stand, medium kick, and jab, and he wasn't just like looking for anti-air stand strong. He had a lot of cool movement with the character.
Right.
And
but it worked.
The point is that he had a different kind of Rolento, and it was like the only case in the whole top 4 where, like, somebody was like, hey, let's take a character and do something different with him, like, that we didn't do in week 2.
Right.
Like, that everybody else was doing, like, month 1 stuff.
Right.
So, anyway, the game looked terrible because people, well, let me say this, in part because the game has problems, and also in part because players weren't playing it like they should be taking it seriously.
And someone even said, on the chat, they said that Ricky even admitted that he never plays the game, and they got that far.
Like, Ricky likes the game, but, like, he he knows other people don't really, and so he just doesn't get to play that much. But yeah, they got that far because he and Eduardo are super sick players.
Right.
They understand spacing and mix-ups in the whole game really, really well. Just not the ins and outs of that game. So I think that the only real chance for Cross Tekken is 2 things have to happen, I would say. In the patch that's going to be coming out not too far from now, it's like at the end of this month,
July
I think.
31st.
Yeah, the end of this month.
Yeah.
That has to make the game way, way better. It has to make it more interesting, and in ways that are readily apparent. So, whereas, my position on the whole timeout thing is that I think it's actually not stupid. It's actually like, it makes you take the timer differently than in other games, which I think is kind of cool. That has to go, because clearly people are not taking the time to think about the timer in an interesting way. So they have to fix the game, they have to change the game in a way that will, like, immediately attract people. But also, in this series of Capcom 25th anniversary tournaments where Cross Tekken is going to be there, and it'll be singles and I think doubles, but I'm not sure. It'll definitely at least be singles. People have to come in and show that the game can be cool.
Right.
Those 2 things have to happen, and if either one of them doesn't happen, then I think that's it. Like, because I know, I'm sure that a lot of majors either won't have it or will put it in garbage time, and we just won't even see it. So.
Yeah, I mean, the problem with it is fighting games currency, we always talk about it, which is where real estate, how much room you have to walk back before you get to the corner, how much super meter you have. Cross Tekken is actually really interesting from a playing point of view because the timer is the main currency.
Right.
It determines what you can or cannot do. The problem is when time runs out, it's just not cool. It's just not cool.
It can be frustrating when you're playing, but I think the bigger issue maybe is that it looks stupid.
So when you're an audience member, like when you see that KO, it's like, oh, you have that chance that no one's going to jump up and go, oh, when the timer runs out. That's just the way it works. And so, I mean, unfortunately, I've seen the patch list, the initial patch list for the game. It doesn't feel like they're addressing a lot of the issues.
I agree.
Inherently, there's definitely a lot of things they need to do. Someone actually mentioned making it so that if you throw, you can't roll.
Yeah.
I love that change because it makes throws really powerful. Make it so you can throw rolls. So if you're waiting for the roll and you see it, you can throw it, and then they can't roll, and then you've got the mix-up. Something, Yeah,
I mean, I said that I think that the two things that need to change most, but also that have the least likely chance of happening, are that the stages need to get smaller and rolls need to be nerfed in some way. Mm-hmm. I just don't really expect either of those things to happen. I certainly don't expect the stage thing. They're not going to have spent all this time making art for stages and then get rid of some section of that. That's just not going to happen.
Right.
So I don't know. I don't see that game coming back.
Pandora needs to make you walk twice as fast so you can't run away.
I want faster walk speeds in general. Like, have you seen how some of those characters move? It's ridiculous. So
still look better than Flash.
Well, look, I don't mean looks. I mean their speed. I don't really see that game coming back.
Okay. Well, let's see what happens when the patch comes out.
I hope it does well.
Let's see if it does anything. But obviously the last two games that are on the list, Marvel and Street Fighter, I don't even really know if there's any point in going over them individually.
Obviously they're back.
But, let's talk about them a little bit. Uh-huh. And, Street Fighter was already there. The thing that's impressed me the most about Marvel is I kind of felt like this year Marvel at Evo, the funny thing is everyone walked into Marvel thinking it was just going to be ugly, that it was just going to be Virgil Zeros all day killing everybody, maybe X Factor Weskers. Everyone called the game random, that nobody else cares about it but except America. And I felt like this year at Evo, like the game almost kind of shut everybody up.
It totally shut me up.
Because X Factor wasn't a factor.
Yeah.
Right, Virgil wasn't really a factor. Zero Flocker was there.
Yeah, I mean the character bounce in the top 8 and top 16 was actually pretty good.
Right, and to me it was very gratifying to see what, in my opinion, the two hardest working players in Marvel making first and second.
Yeah, Filipino champ. Everybody sees that he's constantly playing the game. Mm-hmm. First thing he did when he got home from winning Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 Evo 2012 was turn on the stream and start playing Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3. That's true. That's what he did.
I know.
So
and it's just like,
that's his level of dedication. We all already knew that. But unless you live in SoCal, or maybe unless you watch the run back like every single week, you probably didn't know about Infrit, or certainly you didn't know how much he plays the game and grinds on the game.
Right.
But you have talked in the past, on this show, about, or on multiple shows, about him specifically.
Yeah, and he's the opposite of Filipino champ. Whereas Filipino champ was on stream all the time practicing. Infrit was practicing just constantly in private and just doing all this technology. And when the chips, when the day that he needed to turn everything on, he did it there. And at Evo, he played amazing. When he knocked Filipino champ to loser's bracket, I didn't believe it.
Reset it, yeah.
I did not think he was going to be able to do that. Put him in, because winners finals, he knocked him into loser's bracket. And even after that, when Filipino champ came back, I basically said, you know what? I honestly, in my heart, thought Filipino champ was still going to win it, because I just think Filipino champ he's so smart in this game.
Yes.
And but the grand finals obviously were amazing. It came down to the wire. Infrit had tournament point like twice and such. It was, oh my God, it was so fantastic. And, the ironic thing is that the way that this game is turning out, the way it showed up at Evo with all this cool technology and all this greatness, people are finding more and more bugs in this game right now.
Yeah, that's true.
And you know, and I am a little worried about the game right now.
Could be.
You know,
Yeah, I mean,
to see where it goes.
Yeah, I guess we'll have to see. But I agree with you that I feel like Marvel 3 did, or at least should have, get more people interested in playing the game now. I mean, I love watching the game, and I try to keep close on top of, you know, new developments in the game and how strategy is going and stuff. But I don't really play the game that much. I kind of want to play it now. I really do, and that's the first time that I've even said that in like half a year, man.
Right.
Like, Infrit's Sentinel Jump M's were like, my mind just like you know how I am. It's not like a big thing will make me go whoa. It's like the little things, right?
Yes.
So like when Filipino Champ was like up here in this top corner and he came up with Sentinel Jump M Rocket Punch, I was like, what? Like I couldn't believe it.
All I know is you saw a flying Dalsum, didn't you?
Yeah. Totally, you're totally right.
You saw Dalsum stand forward, but super jump height in the air.
Like I didn't see like X Factor level 3 ridiculous Sentinel comeback where he makes one guess on each character and you die. I saw like this interesting control of space and really cool strategy and thought it was so cool, man. I really did. So I hope that the things that you're talking about aren't going to make the game weird.
Right.
I'm actually really looking forward to seeing how people apply that Kubota escape because
I
feel like it can be a really interesting addition to the game.
Right.
I was talking with Mike Z, not necessarily about this, but about games in general, and he said that one of the coolest things about Marvel 2 to him was that it wasn't just offense that evolved, it was also defense.
Yes.
And he was kind of bemoaning the fact that Marvel 3 didn't really seem to have much evolution possible in the defense. Mm-hmm. And as soon as I saw the escape, I was like, "Ooh, that could actually be a really interesting application for, or some evolution for how defense is used in this game." So I hope to see how that's played out, and I hope that it'll be really. I expect that it'll be really interesting.
Yeah. And you know, just addressing the defense issue. When Marvel, like I said, if Marvel 2 came out right now, everyone would have thought Magneto was the dumbest character in the world.
Yeah.
In 5 days, because triangle jumps and all that stuff is crazy. And when you saw Justin and Sanford playing, and they blocked everything Magneto did, all I can say is watch Infrit versus Flocker. Watch that match again.
Yeah.
Me and Andre. Oh no, it wasn't Andre. It was because Andre was doing commentary. Yeah. Who was it? It was me and who was I sitting with at the time? I know I was sitting there with Maximilian, and there was a couple of other guys there. But when we were watching that match, Infrit blocked everything. And this is Virgil. It was like Helmbreaker, teleport, jump, Helmbreaker, in the crescent slash, and everything. He blocked everything, and we were just going, what the hell? And it just made me feel like MVC2 blocking Magneto stuff again, you know, and it'll get there eventually, you know. Cool. I think so. I think it'll get there.
Cool.
So.
Well, in any case, it was an awesome top 8. Really, like I said, really cool character variety. Some really hype, interesting matchups of both characters and players, and just a lot of really cool stuff happened. So certainly that game's not going anywhere. It'll absolutely be back at Evo 2013. Like I can't imagine a situation where it's not there. So
the only way it's not coming back is if Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 Hyper Fighting comes out.
What was the I forget what the name of the like fake upcoming version was, right? Something with a U. I don't remember. In any case, that's the only way. Marvel 3 will definitely be there.
Right.
And I feel the same way about Street Fighter 4. Of course, it's going to be there. The level of competition in the game is just growing at an incredible rate.
Well, if you don't mind, let me just interject here.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting because...
Uncanny, that's right.
I feel like Street Fighter 4 was like growing, like, hey, look, we're getting better. And Infiltration just came up and said, no, you guys are not getting better. I'm getting better. So, you know, while the skill level is growing, I think someone came in and just showed us that all of us are actually being very lazy right now, and that we have a pretty big jump to get to catch up to Infiltration.
He is hugely above everybody in that game. He, like, you know, after Evo, people were talking about Korea and like the rise of Korea in fighting games, right?
Yeah, I've said it too, mistakenly.
So, obviously, they've been good in Tekken and we all knew that they were good in King of Fighters, although maybe we didn't quite expect how good they turned out to be, relative to everybody else. But, people talking about Korea in Street Fighter. Look, Korea is basically on the same level as everybody else in the world is. Mm-hmm. We're all pretty much at the same level.
Yeah, even Daigo said that in an interview. Yeah.
Except for one dude who happens to be in Korea, and he is just up here. So, of course, like, he won Street Fighter, and he and Laugh won Street Fighter Cross Tekken, but I think Laugh is an awesome player. I don't think that he is at an Infiltration level, or I think he's one of the people who in Korea, who he and Punko and a couple others are at this level where they can pretty much go toe to toe with anybody in the world, and play well and do well, but nobody else is like Infiltration right now. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be interesting to see how that, whether and how that changes. How are people going to catch up to him? What are the ways that they're going to get there? Which characters are they going to pick to do it? All that stuff is totally up in the air. So
yeah, that's true. I mean, that's a good point. It's not necessarily we have to catch up to Korea. It's just everyone's trying to catch up to Infiltration.
Yeah, and everybody includes both everybody else in the world and also the rest of the people in this country.
Yeah, exactly. So. I mean, the guy takes notes on every matchup. I don't know if people saw it on stream, but before every match, he opens his phone, starts looking through there, and probably is like, when he fights Gamerby, it probably says versus Adon. These are the setups that you use for safe jumps. These are the cross-up tricks, blah, blah, blah. He used to write it down on paper and carry a notebook. Now, smartphones obviously allows him to put it on phone. Hey, this guy does his homework. He does his research, and I wish we could get that match and see the input playback. I want to see how many Raging Demons he was inputting for that entire game.
I just have to guess that he was inputting most of Raging Demon input like on 2/3 of his button presses.
Right, exactly.
Because some of the ones that he came out with, like, for example, I guess we'll have this later, but when he was playing against Daigo, and he whiffs a sweep, and then Daigo like whiffs a stand short or whatever.
The standard Shoto trick.
Yeah, and now Daigo's going to do something, and Infiltration must already have had, like, jab, jab, short, right? And he's got his finger on this button, and he's like, oh, got it. Twitch. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So,
and you know what? We've all known you can do this, but nobody's taken the time to input those codes, like, constantly. Right. So, shout outs to Infiltration for taking that.
So, that tournament was, there was a lot of really good play, but I really think that the most interesting to watch play happened in semis and pools and not in top 8, because in top 8 it was just a run through.
Right. There was a lot of great matches in semis. And I remember because Friday night was amazing. Mm-hmm. Friday night, the level of hype was ridiculous. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, for sure. And we cannot skip the fact that there were 6 countries represented in top 8. 8 different characters. Yeah. This game has nowhere to go but up. There's so much potential. I mean, I would not be surprised if we start seeing, like, Hakan start jumping out and start winning tournaments and such. Jury, another character that I feel like has super potential that I don't think a lot of people are taking advantage of. There's so much growth left in this game. And, largely because there's 39 characters in the game, right? So that it's kind of, there's no way we can know the game that quickly unless it's just a crappy game. And, in this instance, it's not a crappy game at all.
Yeah, I totally expect that Street Fighter IV will be around for half a dozen years. Until, or if a game like Street Fighter V comes out, I just think it'll be a tournament staple until then.
And I really hope more people around the world keep playing this game. And, I would love to see more players come. I would love to see 8 countries next year.
Yeah, there were 2 Koreans and 2 Americans, and then 1 Japanese. Let's see, that's
one Japanese, 1 Taiwanese, 1 Chinese, 1 Australian.
/ Hong Kong.
Yeah, / Hong Kong. Dude, why is our brain... Oh, that's it. And then 2 Koreans and 2 Americans.
There you go.
Yeah. So, And,
pretty awesome stuff.
Right. And let's go on a break real quick, but I just do want to give shout-outs. I mean, we give out MVP awards and stuff like that. I want to give an MVP out award to Mexico. The entire country of Mexico. Because what Fruitsy did coming in and blowing everybody up, getting top 8, and King of Fighters, the chanting and just the unity that their players had and everything, they were one of the biggest impacts. You know, obviously the story is Korea because they took 3 games, but to me the MVP was Mexico because they really came out. And, you know, everybody I talked to, you know, they said next year they'll try to bring more guys out from their country. Obviously it's easier for Mexico to get their players to Vegas because, you know, they can do a car trip bus or something like that. But, you know, we need more players.
Remember, it wasn't just Fruitsy. It was Taekwa who was also in the top 12, I think. Mm-hmm. In Marvel 3, KOF, you know, Bala and Romance.
Yeah, they're a super strong country. And, you know, Kenshin TL Kenshin? God, I just totally butchered his name. I apologize, but he told me at the run back when I saw him, he's like, watch out for Mexico. We're gonna come and make some noise at Evo.
Totally right.
And sure enough, they came here and they did. So.
All right, let's take a break, and we're gonna have a little bit more first attack left. We're not gonna abide by this 1 hour for each show rule. Whatever.
We can do whatever we want. It's
whatever,
our show,
man. We'll do it live.
So, all right. So we'll be right back.
Hey, welcome back to First Attack. As you can see, it's been a joint show today because I'm not usually the one doing the intros or talking at all or even being here, but I am. My name is Ultra David and James Chen.
Yep, we're doing post-Evo show.
Mm-hmm.
We've both had a lot of stuff we want to talk about, so that's why we're doing this.
Yeah, basically. So we've been talking about how the tournaments went at Evo, the individual games, how their communities were, and what their prospects are for showing up again in Evo 2013. We talked about the games that were officially included in the Evo lineup: Soulcalibur and King of Fighters and Mortal Kombat 9 and Street Fighter Cross Tekken and Street Fighter 4 and Marvel vs. Capcom 3. But there were other games that were there and other games that are coming out. Right. And so I think it'd be interesting to talk about how we expect games like Skullgirls and Persona and Guilty Gear and Virtua Fighter to do in terms of getting to Evo as an official game in 2013.
Right. Yeah, obviously Virtua Fighter had that little exhibition where the top 3 were on stage. You know, I'm sure they would like to be an official game next year. Yeah. And, you know, the VF community is a very dedicated community. Obviously, we're good friends with Gerald. I've known Gerald for as long as I've been playing Street Fighter, almost, you know, maybe 15, 16, 17 years or whatever. But they're doing a fantastic job right now trying to bring awareness to their game. You see what Gerald's doing here. Mm-hmm. He's put a bounty on himself where basically says if you can beat him at a Wednesday night fights or any of the tournaments, he I think he said he gives you like $50 if you beat him. You know, and there's like the Rising Star, you know, award that they're trying to give out that has some monetary value attached to it. They're doing a lot of things to try to build up their scene. Mm-hmm. They still have a very tough road ahead of them, in my opinion.
I mean, it definitely helps that their games publisher is interested in having the game get a huge prize bounty at Evo and showing up in, you know, with the top 3. At Evo, that definitely helps for sure. But, you know, I don't know. I mean, for whatever reason, the game just hasn't ever been, or only a couple times has been adopted in the U.S. as like a major main game that people are really grinding on in a big way. And I don't know, do you think that that's going to happen this time? I mean, do you have any expectation that that'll occur?
I feel like the hardest thing for the game right now is that Virtua Fighter V is, a 3-year-old game or so, 3 or 4-year-old game.
5, yeah.
The good thing about it is that it does have technology then. So in other words, we know how to play the game correctly, so it's easy to teach. You know, the perfect example is when the Anniversary Collection came out for PS2, and we had that Third Strike guide in there, the ST guide. You remember how good that guide was? It's because we've been playing the game for so many years and we had real strategies already. So VF is kind of the same way. You can be taught why things are working, why things aren't working, you know. So the ability to level up will be much quicker for players because, you know, if you ask the right people, you'll be able to have that information. Okay. Again, the problem with it is an older game. It doesn't look as good as a lot of the other games out there, even though I've always thought Virtua Fighter looks really good. But, you know, obviously it's still a 3 or 4 year old game. So just, you know, there's a lot of things going against it. But I feel like the VF community is doing a really good job right now.
Yeah,
and
I agree.
Someone actually says it's 6 years old. So the game is 6 years old right now.
I mean, okay. Newer version, but yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I feel like the biggest impediment, well, two biggest impediments to the game being picked up on a wide scale are that it has everybody thinks that it's a super complicated game. People think that it's just too difficult to pick up. We tried to get Gerald on here. You know, we did have Gerald on here to kind of explain the game and to try to like simplify it a little bit and show people that it can be played more simply, but it is a complicated game. Right. I mean, it's a deep game and it has a lot of stuff to it. And if you want to play it at a very high level, you got to get all that stuff.
Right.
And yeah, I think people are put off by what they expect is going to be really hard. The other thing is just that there's a lot of other games out right now, and
yeah.
I don't really know like which pool of players VF is going to be drawing people from, or whether they're going to be attracting new players. I don't know. I mean, it actually was doing pretty well. I don't know how it did this week, last week at Wednesday Night Fights. It was getting like 30 people per week, which is awesome. I hope that it maintained that last week, but I don't know. And we'll see it on Wednesday this week and see whether it does.
Yeah, I mean, I like to speak on that difficulty aspect that you're talking about. It's kind of interesting because as fighting game players, we like our games to be complex and deep. But the interesting thing is we're very hypocritical as a community when we talk about that.
Okay.
Because some of the other games that we were mentioning, Guilty Gear, Skullgirls, they're complicated games. They're super complicated, and they're known for being complicated. Yeah. And that is one of the reasons why I think they aren't played.
Okay.
You know, so as a community as a whole, we're always like, oh, screw this Marvel X Factor crap. Screw this Street Fighter Ultra crap. Hey, guess what? People are playing those games the most, right? And, you know, there is definitely something to be said about, you know, our community. One, there is too many games to learn. So complex games are very hard to get into. And two, you know, I feel like the right way to get people in the game is to try to teach people how simple the game can be.
Yeah, I thought that was awesome when Gerald came out and showed us stuff. That was really cool.
So if you're a Guilty Gear player, you know, don't go up to your friends and be like, yo, look, when you want to do this combo on these characters, you got to learn a different combo for every character. This game's so deep. You know, that's just not the recommended way to do it, you know?
I guess, yeah.
You know, so when it's Virtua Fighter, you know, I like the fact that Gerald's like, everybody's elbow's the same.
Right, yeah.
Everybody's knee is the same. Low punch is the same for everybody. Everybody has that one or two moves that gives them frame advantage on block, you know, and I like how he broke it down because that certainly made me a lot more interested in playing the game. Too. You know, I was far less scared of the game after that. So, you know, I guess this is just general advice I have for all communities. Try to keep your... I know we all love complex games. I know we love to talk about how great our games are because it has more depth or whatever like that. It's not the way to tell your friends about the game.
I guess, yeah. I didn't really mean to say that I thought that Virtua Fighter was super complicated compared to other games. I think a lot of games are really complicated. Right. Marvel 3 and Street Fighter 4 at this point are pretty complicated games and like not very easy to pick up, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah.
They have a lot of stuff, even though they're probably among the more simple ones. But yeah, there's so much stuff. That's the issue, is that it's fighting against having that reputation. And I hope that it'll be able to, that the players will be able to get new players by overcoming that reputation.
Right. And, you know, even for games like Skullgirls, like Persona that you mentioned, you know, that are new games, you know, they don't have an old reputation to get over.
Yeah.
There definitely needs to be this level of this. You got to give people that kind of entrance to where it's simple enough for them to pick up the game a little bit easier. Skullgirls, you know, I like the fact that you can play one character. That helps it a lot. and then you can add another character later on, and you can add a third
cool.
character later on. In fact, I think Tekken Tag 2, that's why they have that
You can
one
do that.
character mode, just to kind of... Because Tekken's a complicated game as well.
Yeah, for sure.
It's probably one of the hardest fighting games
hard.
there is, right? And, you know, a lot of people's problems with Tekken Tag is you got to learn 2 characters. So in the home version, they're putting this one character mode, so you can learn one character at a time.
Right.
You know, and so I feel like a lot of games need that kind of help to get people into the games.
Yeah, you know, games can seem... I guess I feel like most games are this kind of simple to learn, hard to master sort of thing. I feel like most games you don't have to dive in and immediately be doing like crazy high level stuff.
Right.
Like Marvel can seem like it's really easy and simple, right? If you're like at a lower level, but I think the VF can too. But at high levels, like, dude, I don't know how many hours you're gonna have to play to get to where somebody like Filipino Champ is right now. But
Right.
I mean, I'm sure that dude has his 10,000 hours in this game. Like, it's
Yeah.
and he plays it at a high level that nobody else is really at. So, yeah, you know, they're all complicated. I guess just, yeah, will VF be able to get around that reputation is the problem.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, again, even though Skullgirls is brand new,
Yeah.
it has a reputation for being kind of complex.
It does.
you
I mean,
know?
it is. It is a complicated game.
Right. And so, like Persona, I don't know anything about the game.
Okay.
I don't know if it's complicated or
Okay.
simple or what. And, you know, if someone was going to present the game to me, I would want them to come up to me and be like, this game is simple to learn.
Yeah.
Because then I'll play it. It's the reason why I tried to learn KOF, because it's not a hard game to learn. It's a hard game to get good at for practicing HD combos, but you can easily categorize everything, because in King of Fighters, it's like, this is how I play. This is footsies. Here's, you know, generally rolls. And then learning the complex parts, like the HD combos, is something you can focus on. Whereas something like Guilty Gear, it's literally like, okay, I'm a Johnny player. I need to learn my one-hit Senga combos on every character because this is vital to my game, so I can get an untechable knockdown in the corner.
Uh-huh.
So now I have to go in training mode and memorize. You know, there's like 20-some characters in this game. I have to memorize 20 different combos with subtle different timing differences to get the one-hit Senga on all these characters. This is not, I need to learn my HD combo.
Yeah.
This is literally like, I need to take a college
Okay.
course to learn this game.
Okay.
You
All
know, and so that's why KOF is a little bit, you know, more approachable to me.
Uh-huh.
So someone can come up to me and say with Persona, you know, hey, this is an easy game. This is not a hard game. You know, with this guy with the chair, he's like this character, and he
Yeah,
smacks
Kanji.
you with the chair.
It's
You
my
know,
dude.
that's how I would like to have the game shown to me.
Well, that actually kind of is how it was shown to me. For the first time that I played it was at E3, and I was waiting in line, and a couple of the dudes there, who played Guilty and then BlazBlue and stuff, were just hanging out and playing the game, and they helped me like kind of figure out what the game was. I didn't know anything about it. I mean, I've watched videos, but like not understood anything because I just haven't looked into it.
Right.
So I played it, and it actually didn't really seem that complicated, to be perfectly honest.
Okay, cool.
Like I'm
cool.
I'm playing Kanji, and he seems like not the most complicated dude, but like
Is that the guy with the chair?
Yeah.
Okay.
it's the grappler with the chair.
Oh,
Yeah.
he's a grappler.
That's why I'm playing the guy.
Dude,
I don't care if he has
I
a
just
chair.
want to play him because he had a chair.
I don't
dude.
care about that.
He has a chair. He smacks you with a chair. It's
He
the
does.
closest thing to a table flip I can get, right?
yeah,
So,
yeah. It doesn't seem that hard, but I'm sure at a higher level it's difficult to play.
oh, yeah, for sure.
That's my guess. I know that it's a super, super popular game in Japan. It's one of the most popular arcade games there right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
oh,
yeah,
okay,
it has
okay,
been for
cool,
a little
cool.
while. So maybe that speaks to the quality of the game. I mean, presumably it does. But you know, there are games that have been really popular in Japan that have find it really hard to come to the U.S.
VF.
CVF. see a game like Gundam.
Right.
Right. Like
Oh,
Gundam,
yeah,
like
yeah,
is
yeah,
super
uh-huh.
popular in Japan, but nobody cares about it here.
Except for Shingen, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a pretty fun game, but I'm not gonna play it competitively
Right,
because
right.
nobody else does. So, yeah, I don't know if it'll be able to get past that. I think that maybe a bigger issue for games like through these games that we're talking about, Guilty Gear, Persona, and Skullgirls, is that I kind of view the set of players who are going to play those games as very heavily overlapping,
Yeah.
and it's not the biggest group.
And they're going to be almost kind of fighting each other.
Yeah, it's
right?
not like the biggest group of people. It's not like in Street Fighter 4 and Marvel are two very different games, and they're mainstream enough to be able to support really big communities. Big enough in the case of Street Fighter that Street Fighter Cross Tekken could splinter off. Even when it was earlier in the game and people didn't hate it yet, you could splinter off and still have good rep for both games, right? Even though they're pretty similar in a lot of ways. Guilty and Skullgirls and Persona are pretty different games, but
the fan base is still going to kind of overlap.
I think so. So I don't really know which one of those is going to come out on top. Like I said, I've already gone back to playing Skullgirls. I had taken some time off from the game before Evo. Hadn't really played it in like a couple of months, actually. But, yeah, I've already gotten back to playing it. And I'm certainly going to try out Persona when it comes out, because I had a good time playing it at E3. I used to play Guilty for a while, but not that long, a few months at most. And I didn't really love the game that much. So, I mean, I'll try it out again. But, like, I'm going to be in that group, but pretty firmly on the Skullgirls or Persona side.
Right.
So I don't know. Like I'm not sure how all three of those games are going to get supported.
Right. Yeah, the hardest thing, like for me, as a Guilty Gear player, I think Guilty Gear.
You played it a lot.
Oh, I love that game.
Yeah,
I loved that game.
Yeah.
I played it to death.
Yeah.
And so with one guy. Like I would just go to his place and the two of us would grind on Guilty Gear for like 6 hours in a row. Okay. So much to the point, you've played the game so long that when you get up, it hurts.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah. So.
Been there.
But Guilty Gear, I'm so hyped for it coming back, but they shoot themselves in the foot every single time because they announced Xbox Live Arcade version of Guilty Gear, and I was like, this is so awesome.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, by the way, in the arcade, we're going to come out with plus R. Yeah. We're rebalancing the character, and it's almost a completely different game. Like, literally, the location tests have been, let's just blow this game up.
Yeah, I've been following it. Yeah.
And then let's just see what works. I mean, Kugi, Broken Tears Kugi, was telling me that the change in this game is so drastic compared to every other iteration. And so now they're releasing this home version, and then they're releasing this new version.
So the home version is not going to be the new version?
So far that I've heard, I've heard, for example, in the new version right now, Johnny is broken as hell. Like, he's just way too good.
Okay.
Like, he's easily the best character in the game.
Okay.
And I'm just like, yes! My character's good.
Yeah.
And so let's just say he's not broken, but he's still really good in the game when it finally comes out. And then I'm going to be sitting here playing on, Accent Core, and I'm just going to be like, man, I really want to play this new Johnny. I really want to play. That's what happens, right? You just, there's always this newer version out. Japan is going to be playing this new version. They're going to be getting good at it while we're playing the old version. Right. And, if they could just release the Reload on Xbox and then just patch it, upgrade it to plus R, that would just be fantastic. I mean, if they could do that, that would be the best thing. And Guilty Gear, I mean, that game, every year at Evo, it was like a month right before Evo, they would come out with the new version.
Yeah.
And everybody would want to play the new version. No one cared about the old version anymore. And we always had to play the old version. It was like, they got to stop doing that to themselves.
Okay.
Right now, the arcade home, there's no difference. There's no time release. Just if you put it out in the arcade, put it at home at the same time. That's the way to go. So I hope Guilty Gear does not hurt itself by keeping plus R arcade only.
That definitely makes sense to me. That's not a problem that Skullgirls has, which obviously just console. Right. And Persona, I think as far as I know, it's going to be the same game as in the arcade.
Right.
VF, so...
And the cool thing about Skullgirls is a new patch is coming out.
And a new patch is coming out for the game. I mean, that's like, okay, it is cool. It's awesome that it's being patched, because it's being patched in some really smart and good ways. Not just the gameplay, but, training mode and all sorts of stuff is being patched. On the other hand, people aren't really playing the game right now, because of that.
Right.
So, a lot of people were saying that they're going to wait until after Evo to play the game because they had to train for games that had significant pots at Evo. Right. I understand that. But now they have another excuse, and that's that the patch is going to be coming out, and so why bother playing before that?
Do we know when the patch is coming out? Is there a release date?
I don't think there's an official date. Okay. As far as I know, I haven't. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, the nice thing about this patch, too, is I feel like it's going to address a lot of issues.
It does.
A lot of people had problems with the way the game kind of like the pace of it, and it is a little faster. And every time we've seen the new patch version, and it looks significant. I mean, it doesn't play significantly faster, but just there's something about it that just looks smoother to me.
I agree. You know? I mean, it's a little bit faster, like 3% or something, like super minor. But yeah, it is faster. And obviously balance tweaks to the characters and fixing glitches and making training mode a really, really good training mode. It has features that no other training mode has. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. I just think that in the meantime, there's going to be an excuse for people to not play the game. Yeah. But dude, once the game comes out, I hope that they pick it up. I really do.
One of the things holding the game back right now is the training mode.
Oh, yeah?
One of the things that made Marvel so good was the training mode was the most amazing training mode ever created. I just want to tell everybody out there who might have been holding back on Skullgirls, and you know, I know we talk it up a lot, but
yeah, we do.
Seriously, the stuff that Mike Z has shown us in the new training mode is ridiculous. All I can say is 2 words: saved states.
Dude, saving of states is the best thing, man.
Saved states.
Like, you can go back to immediate, like, you can, like, set up a situation in a spot on screen, a character doing a certain thing, and save it.
Yeah.
And then go back and test it out each time. Test your response. Oh, it didn't work? Let me set that. Let me just press one button, see it again. One button, try it again. One button, try it again.
The craziest thing is they have a playback and record just like in Marvel, where you can record the second player and play it back. They have a function in there that the save state immediately plays back the second player thing. So when you hit one button, it loads the save state and does the exact same action every single time.
There's even things you can save a state and have it be set to reversal mode. So like the game will immediately fast forward all the stuff until the button that you press is. So like you can set up you can wait there and do Cerebella Super. Right. And then if you turn it on reversal mode, you can hit the opponent once, and then you block, because the Cerebell will do a reversal super. Like, even though when you set it
on reversal. So
anyway, it's a really cool training mode.
Lots of cool stuff.
Looking forward to that. But So of those 4 games, A, do you think any of them is going to show up at Evo next year? And B, if so, which one do you think has the best chance?
To be honest, right now, Guilty Gear's been there already, and like I said, the home version stuff is going to hurt it. VF is an older game, so it's going to take a long time to get there. And VF has been at Evo before, so I think that's going to make it have a little bit harder time, because when it was at Evo, it did not do particularly well. Okay. So honestly, I think Skullgirls and Persona have the best chance to make it there, and it really just depends. Again, it's my mantra for the week. The next 6 months. We're going to find out exactly how strong those scenes are. Skullgirls has had lackluster support from players, but there's been a reason. But let's see if the reason is true or not. There you go. Persona's not out yet. We don't know a lot about it, so we'll see how that game goes. But honestly, right now, I would probably say, out of those 4 games, I would give the best chance probably to Persona, interestingly enough, and then Skullgirls, then probably Guilty Gear and VF. Guilty Gear and then VF, probably. Guilty Gear, I would have given the best chance to if Plus R just came right out. Right. But the fact that but the fact that it's reload first really kind of messes it up.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that, I can see that.
What about you?
I think that the game with the biggest chance of getting there, I don't know, man. Among those,
hey, you put me on the spot. You got.
I know. Okay, fine. I'll answer. I guess my answer will be that I don't think that any of them is going to be at Evo.
Really?
Yeah. Okay. And if I had to guess, I would say probably. I don't know why I want to say the same order. That's
my
stupid.
bad. Not reload, accent core. I said reload, not accent core. But keep going.
Oh,
keep
going.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
obviously, yeah.
Keep going.
Let's see. I guess I'm gonna go with Persona, then Virtua Fighter, then Skullgirls, then Guilty. Okay. The thing about Virtua Fighter is that it has the significant backing of Sega.
Okay, fair enough.
And
yeah.
I don't know that that's a huge deal, but hey, I mean, being shown on the Evo stage was pretty nice for them. unfortunately, like 2 out of 3 were the same character, which is like, it's too bad because it's not like the game is like imbalanced or anything. It just like still happens that they both like Shun.
And Shun's not even top tier in that game, supposedly. You know,
I mean, it's not like you have to play one or any particular character. It just happened like that. But yeah, I mean, Sega's going to be doing stuff for the game or has been doing stuff for the game, and I guess we'll see whether that helps them out. But I think that it might. So cool. Yeah, but I'd love to see Skullgirls there. Like, I love the game, and now that I'm back into playing again, like, I kind of missed it. I hope that Skullgirls comes out with a significant patch, not just the one that they have planned, but I know people are not playing the game because it doesn't have guy characters, and because it only has 8 characters, and if they solve those 2 problems, maybe that really helps the game out. I don't know, but yeah, if I had to bet, I would say that none of those games gets it because, like I said, I think that 3 of them have really overlapping communities and might not be able to support all of them coming out, not simultaneously, but like within a pretty short time span of each other. And then VF just hasn't had that community. And like you said, when it was at Evo before, it didn't do that great. So yeah, I think, obviously Street Fighter IV is going to be there, Marvel is going to be there. I would think KOF is going to be there. Tekken is going to be there. I feel like those, certainly 3 of those are locks, and I got to think that KOF is going to be there. So,
yeah, I mean,
what's the other 1 or 2 maximum?
So, I guess a good question then a lot of people would probably be wondering is, how can they make their chances the best to make it to Evo?
Yeah.
And for me, it's all about community, and we talked about MK.
Totally
make
agree.
your own heroes and stuff like that. So I'll talk about all 4 games, if you don't mind me just doing this really quick. Guilty Gear, I think actually has a pretty decent chance because there's a lot of players out there who are already good.
Yeah, for sure.
And the cool thing about it is some of the players who are amazing at Guilty Gear are guys like Marlon Pie, who have become very well known recently.
That's a good point.
Marlon Pie, if people don't know, kind of came from Guilty Gear. That's where I first heard of him.
Me too.
And he was amazing at that game. So now that he's Marlon Pie, and now if Marlon Pie is playing Guilty Gear, you're going to be like, I want to see him play.
I guess we'll see, yeah.
So there's definitely a chance for that. Obviously, guys like Kugi, it'd be cool to see Kugi, Mr. Broken Tier. Hey, he actually does play games, and he's really good,
By the way, he got top 8 at Evo.
Yeah, exactly. Combo Fiend plays the game, it would be really, that's kind of what it has, is it has people that are known for it. So I think that'll help promote that, get those guys to play it a lot.
Okay.
VF, obviously, like you said, has the Sega backing, and it does have players like Gerald now who are really pushing for the game.
Fudo and Itabashi Zangief and stuff, who you saw at Evo.
Yeah, exactly. So I feel like for them to really get there, I really like what Gerald's doing. I love the bounty stuff. I think more people need to do that. And, they need to promote. Like, Gerald told me one of the best players in VF is in Florida. He's a Florida Pie player, I believe. And he's really amazing. Let's get more matches of him. Let's get him out there. Let's publicize him. For KOF, I talked about this too. Like, I think Bala is just amazing for like being a figure, for being a public figure, for a representative for the game. Despite the fact that he doesn't speak that much English or whatever, I just think that look what happened at Evo. Everyone knew Bala, so everyone went into that tournament knowing Bala, and when he lost, that was a big deal to people who don't know KOF. So VF, do that with the Pie player from Florida and stuff like that. It's kind of the same story I'm talking about in Guilty Gear. Make the players known again.
I can see that. See that.
For Skullgirls, there's a lot of people out there who do play Skullgirls, but they're not going to tournaments. They're not showing up.
Well, it's weird because it's like people don't play it here in SoCal where the game is from, but there actually are bigger scenes for the game in other places.
Right. So. And so my advice to them is gather and start recording the matches and even start doing your own commentary for it. Get people who know it and be like, oh, okay, he's doing this and da-da-da-da. Educate players. Get hype about it. Show people why this game is so great. You know what I mean? So you've got this great game. And you do have some people like Fnatic who really enjoy. And Fnatic he said at our panel too that he thinks Skullgirls is like the best game out there right now. start trying to get these people to play and such. Again, get the players, but you have a lot of room now to get your own people known. You know what I mean? There's a lot of closet great Skullgirl players out there. So I feel like they have the ability to really kind of make a name for themselves, like Abala, like the MK community, like CD Junior, Rio, and these guys. I think there's a huge potential for this game because it's completely untapped. No history. You're not going to expect Justin Wong. Justin Wong doesn't have to be the best player in this game, so you can make your own heroes in this game. Okay. And so I feel like that's a good way for that to go.
Okay. Yeah, that all definitely makes sense to me.
Yeah.
I almost want to say that, like, I think that the best chance for any of Skullgirls, Guilty, and Persona to make it is for people to just arbitrarily pick one of those games to back. And just be like, you know what? This scene is going to stick with Persona or with Skullgirls.
Yeah.
And kind of leave the other game. Because I just don't see... I don't see all three of those games getting huge backing individually. I wish that they did, but I just don't see that happening. And it hasn't happened in the past.
Yeah, for Persona, I just say just try to make the game look as appealing as possible.
It's a really cool game. I mean, I like I said, I played it at E3. It was the game that I played the most, in addition to PlayStation All-Stars.
Right.
But yeah, it was really cool. I'm really looking forward to having it come out.
And it's nice that you've already got players like Dacid Bro really, really pushing this game very hard. Yeah. So we'll see what happens with that. So.
All right. Cool. Well, I'm definitely rooting for all those games. And it would be awesome if Evo could have 1 billion games officially.
Yeah, we just mentioned PlayStation All-Stars. Who knows about that game too, right? So
you know what? It seemed like an interesting competitive game to me. I really don't think it'll be at Evo.
Okay.
I really don't. I mean, maybe it'll deserve it, but
6
maybe
months.
It'll be at Apex 2013. Like that's
6 months, man.
Yeah.
All right, so guys, we will be back, but when we come back, we will be at level 3 focus. And we'll be talking a little bit more specifics on actual, like, some of the more notable matches.
Yep.
Right? So, all right, stick around for some level 3 focus.